Unbearable Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Brad Barron, and joining me as always, my co-host, Mr. Blake Barron. And today we have a great show. We are going to be talking about how to build around the man, the myth, the Justin Fields. We are going to be saying who on this roster should we be able to build around with Justin Fields. But first, Blake, my friend, how you doing?
Brad, not too shabby. Even though it's a bye week, it's still been a very busy week.
Yeah.
First off, our good old brother got engaged this past week, which is awesome.
Yeah. Congrats, Jake and Kayla. Congrats.
Yeah, congrats. It took too long. I'm kidding. No, kidding, Jacob. Kidding. But yeah, I mean, also facing you in fantasy football, that's always a easy dub for the week.
I have to pull it up right now. I have to pull it up so that we know where
we are close, because you have Travis Kelce and Damian Williams, and then I have Darren Waller. So it's like a tight end matchup. I think I'm up like 15 points, but also you have like a couple players that can score quite a bit. So.
It's not looking good for you right now. So just to bring this in, I'm up 8 points because Kelce already has 15.9 for me. So Travis Kelce already has a lot. So and I already have two people to play. So I'm getting my revenge because you beat me really badly the first week. So I at least got that.
I got a 6% chance of winning. So
There's
still a chance. There's still a chance.
There's still a chance. So, Blake, let's get into this then. So, as I was mentioning before, we're going to be going through this current roster and talking about who are some of the people that we can use to build around Justin Fields. So, it's not just about the offense. We're going to be going through the defense as well, because especially right now, I don't know about you, Blake, but when I watch the Bears, sometimes I go, why is that guy on the team?
Mm-hmm.
Like, can we just get rid of him? Can we just cut that guy? Can we? And so that's really what we're doing today. Is we're not necessarily cutting people. We're saying, who do we think positions ourselves for the future? So then as we're watching games, we can say, let's see if this relationship with Fields can develop. Also, on the flip side with the defense, what relationships do we think we need to see develop there so that we can get back to that top 10, top 5, number 1 defense that we all want to see? So, Blake, let's get started. Let's get started with the quarterback. Obviously, we're keeping Justin Fields. So that's somebody there that we are going to be building around for the long term. But Blake, do you think that any of these quarterbacks should stay on this team necessarily long term?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're keeping Justin Fields. Like, I think, I don't know about you, but he's kind of the main priority in this offense that I kind of choose. It's like, who's going to build around Justin Fields? But with that is, I think I kept Andy Dalton. I think Andy Dalton is, he's been working with Justin Fields, has good relationships with Justin Fields. Seems like they're decent buds, and Andy Dalton's been able to kind of mentor him and, show him the works around the NFL. So I think it's good to have, especially as a rookie and a young quarterback, someone you're comfortable with and someone that you entered in the league with. So I have us keeping Andy Dalton as long as we can keep him for like a decent price.
I 100% agree. I actually didn't even highlight him because I just completely bypassed it. Because next year we have Foles on a deal, and we'll probably get rid of him. It seems like he's just the odd man out with everything. But I agree. If Dalton wants to take a pay cut, hopefully, the hard part is you can definitely tell that he's better than some of those quarterbacks that are out there in the league today.
Oh, for sure.
He's shown that. So does he want to stay here or does he want to leave? So if we can, I agree. If you have Dalton as our backup for like the future with Fields,
that's
my
awesome.
God. That's
and two, I don't know about you, but I always thought backup quarterback is probably one of the best positions in the entire
100%.
NFL. You're getting paid to just sit on the bench and, like, I don't know, you kind of coach around a little bit. You really you just get paid a lot for doing not too much. So
yeah, Andy Dalton, ally of the pod, listens to us every day. As he's listening, he should just stay here. He should just stay here because the missus is probably sitting there going, I don't want you to get hurt. Can we just keep collecting millions? Stay on the Bears. Hopefully that happens. I agree with you because that would be awesome if he can be that future quarterback, that future backup quarterback that we have, that mentor. Otherwise, we'll probably have to find someone because I doubt that Foles would even want to be on this roster. Yeah, but switching over to the running backs, Blake, I'll start this one off. This might surprise you, but actually, not so much. Obviously, Khalil Herbert is the future running back. I have him bolded. He, to me, is the guy that you're building around with Justin Fields. I think that Fields is seeing him with Herbert. But obviously, in the short term, I just have this guy underlined, and that is David Montgomery. We all love David Montgomery, and he's here for 2 years, but I don't think he's going to be coming back. And I don't think if you're looking about what to do in the future, I think Herbert is that guy. You're going to be thinking about him being the lead back, and I think he's the guy to build around. Williams, Cohen, even though Cohen's got 3 years, I think he's done. It's unfortunate to say, but I just don't think that he's going to be back with this team. So do you agree? Do you feel the same way?
Honestly, Brad, I think I'm not shocked about the Khalil Herbert, like Montgomery, because you've talked me into it. Montgomery, amazing running back, but we've been successful with our running backs throughout the years doing this strategy of just drafting one and then just basically as they get good, have other teams sign them for a crap ton of money. And then
Jordan Howard.
Yeah, Jordan Howard. And so it's like, we just keep doing that and it's working. But yeah, Cohen, it's hard to say with Cohen because I had him bolded, but I'm thinking like Cohen from 2018, like he was our gadget guy. He was able to get those touchdowns when we did not really see them come. He was that explosive player. And if he's like that, then obviously keep him, but it's hard to say. He's injured, and honestly, last time he played, he just did not seem as productive and making those big plays like he normally would.
Yeah, and I think when we're talking about kind of getting back to this building around Justin Fields, like looking at those relationships, the biggest thing with Cohen is just to see if he's on the field. That's the one thing we got to look out for the second half is if he's not out there, that's really concerning. And hopefully he's able to come back so we can see and he can start developing that chemistry because still on the sidelines, he's still the goofball. When we went to training camp, you knew where Tariq Cohen was. He was laughing it up. He was going crazy. Like that's the guy that you want on this team. So I hope we can see him because I agree. Kind of like how you have him bolded. I like that take because then if he's out there, we can at least see what he's able to, how he's able to perform. But Blake, let's go over to this wide receivers. Who do you have as it's probably the most crucial part for Justin Fields' chemistry?
This one was fun to think about. This is a nice little like brain teaser type. Obviously, I think we all have Mooney. Mooney's been like Justin Fields' guy so far this year. Damiere Byrd, I did not have. A-Rob, I did not have.
Same.
Marked. Yep. I just it's hard to say if he's gonna contribute at all, and just with how his effort's been, and he is getting older. I mean, there's just not much I see with him. We said we've loved him. He's been basically our only receiver for quite some time, but now we got Darnell Mooney, and the other guys I have underlined is Goodwin and Grant. I think Grant, he's not really a receiver, it's more a special teamer. I just kind of had him thrown in there. And Marquise Goodwin, I think he's not the best receiver, but I think he's someone really nice to have in the locker room and just kind of keep your team uplifted and have that high energy. So that's why, even though he hasn't been producing much, I think he's someone that's just kind of that glue guy, that one guy you always want to have on the team. And then at long last, I also had Des Newsome in the practice squad, obviously, but hopefully he can get something. I don't know if he's going to be that guy, but also still watch for him. I mean, he could develop while he's sitting and being in the practice squad, and we just don't know.
Yeah, I had a little bit less. I agree with you with Grant and Daz because I underlined Grant, and just so people know, bold for us means big cornerstone piece. Underline means okay, maybe they're a special teamer, kind of like Grant. I agree. I think that what we're seeing out of Grant, he warrants another 1-year deal. He seems to be like he would be that 1-year deal type of guy for us. And Daz, yeah, you have him on the rookie deal. You want to see kind of how he develops. I agree, but everyone else, I actually didn't even highlight because I think the way that Goodwin's been playing, it's not warranting another contract. I don't see that chemistry as much. I still would like to see it because I think he'd want to come back on this team, but I'm just not seeing it. So to me, Darnell, to me, I was scared when I saw this. This wasn't fun for me, like what you were saying, Blake. This was like a nightmare because I'm going, I don't know, like, because if he's developing all this chemistry with Bird, Goodwin, A-Rob, and they're all gone, then now you have a whole nother wave of wide receivers that have to come in that he's got to learn with. And Rodney Adams, we haven't brought him up, and I think he's someone that we all want to root for, and we all want him. Like, we all love Rodney Adams, but I don't know if he's actually the guy. You know how preseason can get. And I just would like to see him on the active roster and see Daz out there as well too. But obviously it's not there. And that's why I'm more concerned with all that.
I mean, yeah, that's why I was kind of excited. Like, 'cause I was like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, you're like, oh my gosh, like, it's kind of, yeah, we don't have too many guys, but Rodney Adams too. Like, I was gonna bring up, it's like he's 27. That's the hardest thing for me. Like, if he was 20, if he was 22, then I would be like, oh, I'd be all in with him because like he was the man preseason.
Oh yeah.
But it's like 27. It's like, okay, you can't really be like, getting better. You're kind of at your prime, I feel like, at 27, and you're kind of getting over that edge. But who knows? Maybe after his kid, he's gonna be more energized. I don't know.
I mean, for Miller, it didn't work, but I think Adams has a different mentality. And last little bit that I want to just call out, because this is about building around Justin Fields. To me, I look at A-Rob, and like what you were mentioning too, just with the chemistry, that's going to be the biggest tell, because if they're able to build chemistry the second half, maybe he does come back. Maybe he does come back on a 1-year deal and he says, hey, I'm going to prove myself, and then I can get that big deal. Because otherwise, if I were him, I wouldn't take a 1-year deal anywhere else, because you're talking about a new offense. You're really betting on yourself, and you might have this Brandon Cooks effect where everybody wants you for 1 year and that's it. So yeah, I think that's going to be interesting. But obviously the biggest connection that we need to be looking out for is Fields and Darnell Mooney. But moving on to this tight end group, Blake, I have 2 guys bolded.
Yep.
And
same here.
To me, the obvious one is Cole Kmet. When you're talking about the chemistry, we're starting to see it. We're starting to see Kmet's growth because he has that connection. And I think a lot of times with tight ends, it's all about that connection. And that's what we're starting to see. And the other guy I have bolded, Jesse James.
Yep.
Because to me, Jesse James right now is showing, he's like, I'm the guy. I am the guy that you wish Jimmy Graham was, because I'm that big body target. I also have a great chemistry with him. I can also block a lot better than Jimmy Graham. And because of that, I'm not seeing Holtz as much. I'm not seeing Horsted as much. And that's why I actually had nobody else underlined. Like I thought Holtz might be on his way out, or maybe for another deal. And then Horsted might just be one of those guys that just kind of sits on the team. Kind of that Ben Broniker for a little bit. But so kind of an underline potentially. But really, to me, Kmet and James, watch that chemistry, and we have 2 tight ends that hopefully we're then signing Jesse James for a longer term. But yeah, you're saying yep, so I'm assuming similar.
Yeah, I have the same exact thing. With Cole Kmet, it's like I don't know if you saw that video with him talking to Justin Fields after the game for like
love it
10 seconds. After that video, I was like, oh my gosh, like I was getting like teary eyed, saying like, oh my gosh, like they can be so like excited and just like oh so emotional. But yeah, I'm excited to just that's why I'm bummed that we didn't play this week. It's like I feel like our offense, and they're confident too now that their offense is gonna keep rolling, and it's fun. It's fun.
It's like what we said. It was the best loss that we've ever had because afterwards, I want to rewatch it. I've been rewatching it, and now the NFL, if you saw, they've officially said that they messed up a couple calls on the game now.
Oh wow.
So yeah, they actually said that they finally admitted they missed the James Daniels call. That was the incorrect call.
Of course.
They also said that they missed the pass, the roughing the passer call, and they also admitted that there was multiple Steelers lined off sides on the last second field goal kick.
Oh my God.
So they admitted that they still are dying by Cassius Marsh. That was taught. They're still like, we'll give you all that, but we won't give you Cassius Marsh. That's what they were at least doing for at least that. But Blake, let's shift over to this offensive line. And I will say this because we don't want to get too deep into the contract discussions, but we do want to just call out when there is a lot of guaranteed money. Just if there's a lot of guaranteed money, if you get rid of a player, a lot of times it can be it can hurt your team in the long run. And so this is just one of the stops where Cody Whitehair, if you got rid of him, according to overthecap.com, it would cost you $200,000 in an extra. So you'd lose $200,000 if you cut him. So just fun little fact. But with that out of the way, Blake, we have a lot of offensive linemen. Is there anyone that we can see as a future building block around Justin Fields?
I mean, with how Borum's been playing, I think Borum is someone that I put on my list. And still, we haven't seen him play against a just average edge player. Also, Tevin Jenkins, even though he actually hasn't had any reps on the field, this guy's gonna be amazing. He's huge, very aggressive. He's huge. He's very aggressive, and just I love every interview that he has. He's just great personality, great everything.
Yeah.
And then the last guy I had, so I had 3 people, is Wilkinson. I think Wilkinson, not like a future guy, but I just think he's like a good backup to have. I think he's just someone that will be nice to have if someone comes down again. If Jenkins is just throwing people over his back or something, and hurts his back like Kyle Long, then put in Wilkinson.
I like that. I did not have Wilkinson underlined, and I kind of wish that I did. I really like the idea of Wilkinson. He's shown that he can play left tackle. He can play right tackle. He's someone that you could probably keep on that 1-year deal too, which I like.
Yeah.
As well, where maybe he just wants to come back for an extra year and do something like that. But yeah, besides that, I just had Borum and Jenkins. And then I had Whitehair underlined as well, just because I don't think that Whitehair is the long-term solution. Because when we signed him, it was a big deal, big money. And right now he's played very okay. Are you a big fan of Whitehair?
When we first had him, of course.
Yeah,
like he was a monster. Man, Brett, the hard thing with offensive line when I think about it is like you have to build with like a group. You can't just have them all play like new guys and just keep like putting them together. Like I feel like the most important thing with chemistry wise is in the offensive line. Like we talk about the receivers and quarterbacks. That's obviously important, but O-line seems like almost like the most important thing. And that's why it's so tough again too. It's like we have only 2-3 guys that we had underlined /bolded. It's kind of tough.
Yeah, I agree. And one question too that I have for you. So let's just say hypothetically Jenkins comes back. So we're recording this on Sunday night. We haven't heard much about obviously with practice because they haven't started. If Jenkins is able to come back, how do you shift everyone around?
Whew.
Do you just bench Borum, or what would you do?
That would be tough because I mean, you couldn't really put Peters at left guard. A team
Yeah.
tried it last year and this did not work out
Yep.
at all. That's tough. I mean, I wonder if they just wouldn't have him play, or I
Yeah.
don't. I honestly, I'm stumped with that question because it's you can't say like, okay, Jenkins is better than Borum because we haven't
Yeah.
seen Jenkins play. But like, obviously, if he's playing better than Jenkins, he'll play over Borum. And then I guess just Borum wouldn't get any reps, which kind of stinks. But I
Yeah.
couldn't see Borum play any other spot.
And I've heard too that sometimes people, when he was drafted, it's like, oh, Borum is a right guard. And then now Borum is really showing that he's a tackle. And you'd rather have a tackle because tackles are more valuable than a guard. So do you do the Cody Whitehair treatment and move him down into guard and then shift James Daniels as the center? And it's hard because now you're shifting it around. And like you said, now your line is just all sorts of messed up. Can it get worse? Yes.
Anything better than not having Mustafar at center. Anything's
Yeah.
better than not having him at center.
Yeah, he's not good. We've seen this. He's not good. The line is good in the running game when he's there. But yeah, let's try something else. Let's shift it around. I'd be fine if you moved Borum to right guard and had Jenkins at right tackle, but just letting Borum know that he could shift around down the road and then you have Daniels as that true center, or you have Whitehair as center.
Now, Brad, what do you think? Do you think, because obviously Whitehair was amazing like a few years ago, and then James Daniels as well. Do you think they just have been playing bad just because Mustafar is there? Like their pass block rating is just a lot worse because the guy next to them is not doing their job. Like I feel like that could affect how they're pass blocking / run blocking.
But then on the flip side, last year they had an amazing end of the year, and Mustapher was the center.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing that's hard because that's what I liked about Mustapher was when he was the center, it seemed everyone else played better. And then that's when the running game started going and everything started working when he was center, but he's not good at blocking, which is his job. He reminds me of a long snapper where he's there to do one job, and that job is not to block. He's there, like Mustapher's there to kind of coordinate where everybody's at. But yeah, I want to see more out of him, and maybe Bars. And actually, I'm going to underline Alex Bars because what we're seeing with Bars is that he's someone that we just want to have on this team, this roster, wherever you can play him, you just want him on this team. He's that Swiss Army knife. The only thing I fear is if someone comes in and says, hey, we'll give you a multi-year deal, and just to be out there. It would be ballsy for a team to do that, but I think that he's still someone to at least look out for because I like him as a long-term backup. Kind of like you said, if Wilkinson and Bars are our backups, I really like that because it feels right. The hard part with linemen too, though, is usually you keep 8 on your roster, but you also want to draft people so that you have them move up. So that's the only hard part with it. We'll see, but really, yeah, Borum and Jenkins are really the guys out there. Whitehair, we have to see where he kind of moves with this team overall. James Daniels, goodbye. It's looking that way. It's looking like he's probably not going to be back unless it is a weird 1-year deal. But Bars, Wilkinson, would love to have you as our backups. So let's move on to this defense. But actually, before that, anything else you want to say about this offense, Blake? Just building around Justin Fields, anything else?
I mean, not too much. It's just I still this offense is getting better So I think we still have to keep an eye out. Yes, if A-Rob kind of comes up this next few weeks and actually has that chemistry, like you said, and I'm still waiting for Cohen and seeing if he's gonna, keep being Cohen. But that's basically it for me.
Besides that, it's really like we picked a lot of rookies because that's how this team is. It's a lot of 1-year deals on this offensive side, which stinks when you have a quarterback like Justin Fields. So shifting over to this defense, we have the linebackers. Now, the linebackers, I'll kick things off with this. So these are our inside linebackers that we're talking about. And I want to first start things off with Danny Trevathan, because he has a very difficult contract to get out of. There's some creative ways that you could potentially get rid of him next year, but you're still taking on a big penalty when you're getting rid of him. So there's potential. He might be back unless they really are like, listen, you're out of here. So it's not just as easy as you can cut him, but there are ways to deal. And just wanted to call that out before we get into this. And Blake, for me, at this inside linebacker spot, I have 2 people that are long-term and one that I think is going to be just year over year. We're just going to keep re-signing. To me, obviously, this might be a shocker, but Roquan Smith is Roquan Smith is going to be the guy that we build around this defense. And I think that he is the guy. He's the future backer for this team. We already have everything invested into him, and it would be idiotic to see him go. So you're going to give him a big deal. He's going to be our inside linebacker. We're going to be building around him, just like with Justin Fields, I feel. And then the other people, I bolded Caleb Johnson, because Caleb Johnson, the inside linebacker, undrafted free agent, to me, he's just a ball of clay right now. He's the guy that can be the special teamer for years to come and maybe push for a starting spot. We haven't seen much of it, but he, like we said, ball of clay. The other guy that I have just underlined, kind of a year over year, 1-year deal type of guy that I see, is Joel Iyiegbuniwe. I think that he's the backup. He's the special teamer that we just want to see out there. And I think he's just going to have that series of 1-year deals. Everyone else kind of gone. So we really just need to find a partner like a true partner in crime for Roquan. You agree?
I completely agree with you, Brad. Like Roquan is just, it's awesome having him. I forgot he's 24 years old. He does not act like he's 24 years old with how he is the middle linebacker. He's the leader of the defense. And that's what's amazing to see from him. It's like he's so much more vocal than I expected him to be. Like he really just tries to pick everyone up on this team. Great leader, great player as well. And I couldn't imagine this defense without him.
Yeah, for sure. And so, Blake, speaking of people that we can't live without, let's go over to this edge group. So over to this edge, who do you think, like we said, now on the defensive side, rather like offense is building around Justin Fields. Justin Fields needs the partner in crime on this defensive side. It's probably going to be building around Roquan Smith on this defense. What do you think of these edges? Anyone that we're kind of building around this Roquan Smith defense?
So, Brad, this is weird. So I got like 2 underlined. So basically, 2 guys will keep. They're essential for just building a program. And I don't know how right this is, but I have 3 people bolded.
Okay.
It's kind of whack. But so my 2 underlined, Khalil Mack and Robert Quinn. I think with how Robert Quinn's been playing, and if he still does this, then why not keep him? He's playing out his mind right now. He's been that leader even when Khalil Mack has been out. He's the guy still getting sacks.
Yeah,
been basically the best person on the line when Khalil Mack's not out there. So, and then Khalil Mack, I think it's just obvious. Yeah, at this point, our defense suffers without him. And then Travis Gibson, Brad, you love him. I mean, I'm also a fan of him, but I feel like you got a little man crush on him.
For sure.
But yeah, we've seen him in the practice preseason, just playing out of his mind. Like he was rated the best edge in the entire practice preseason. I don't know why I keep saying practice, but yeah, an entire preseason by PFF, and just he's on his way up. With it's his second season, I believe.
Correct.
And the two other guys, which are kind of surprising, I don't know how essential they really are, but I would love to see how Charles Snowden just develops, and if he becomes I don't know if he'll ever become a starter, but with that prototypical, just long body, really fast, he could become a good, at best, a Leonard Floyd, and just be maybe just a backup eventually. And then I also had Ladarius Mack. I'm a big believer in just keeping your leaders happy and the star players on your team happy. And what could be better having, your brother with you,
Yeah,
like
of course.
Everyone loves a little brotherly love.
Of course. And yeah, I agree with the three main people. And that's what I feel, because this was my favorite position to go through, because I felt like we had everything good. Now that Robert Quinn has been performing well, Khalil Mack, Robert Quinn, Trevis Gipson, there you go. There's your pass rushers that you need. And yeah, I was debating on Snowden just because of that prototype, like you said, that prototypical, that athleticism that he brings to the table can kind of sneak up into different parts of this team. We still have Itachu. I didn't even really consider him as somebody who's kind of that stalwart, that big building block. Yeah. But that's why I see those three guys on the edge, Gipson, Quinn, and Mack. When you have those guys as your edge players, your good things will happen.
Mm-hmm. I'm surprised you didn't have Jeremiah Itachu. I feel like that's your boy.
I like him, but this is all about who is kind of who you're building around, who really is the people that are the identity of this team that you can kind of see grow with this. And even though that I don't think Trevis Gipson, he's probably not going to be a giant superstar, but he's still somebody that has the skills to be able to be a good player on this team for the remaining 3 years, where at the end of his time, we go, oh man, are we going to just have to see him walk, or is he going to be able to stay? So that's why I really like our edges.
Dude, and if you're behind Khalil Mack and Robert Quinn as a young guy, how can you not develop? How could you not develop and be a good player at best? Like, you got two amazing edges, and one of the best edges in Khalil Mack as a mentor and someone that you're playing with.
For sure. So Blake, we're going off of my favorite group, which was the edge guys, and this is actually my least favorite group. I only have one person underlined, and we're switching over to this defensive interior. This defensive interior, I am not a big fan of when I'm thinking about the future, even though that this is actually one of the groups that we have the most long-term deals with Edwards, Blackson, Goldman, Tonga, and then we have Hicks and Nichols on 1-year deals. Hicks is the only person that I marked.
Interesting.
Because I think that this defensive line does not do well without Akeem Hicks. To me, I would love to bring him back on 1-year deals or maybe just a 2-year deal, something. I think this defensive interior needs him, because I'm looking at this team. I want to put Goldman as our nose tackle of the future, but we've seen how he's played this year. Tonga, to me, is obviously he's going to be on this team, but he's not moving the needle for me. And I want to see more out of him. He's still a 7th-round rookie, but I don't want to flag him just because he's a rookie that he's this future. I don't see him there. I especially when you're defensive interior, I want to see him play more. I want to see him play better, and that's why I don't think he's a future guy. And Edwards and Blackson, those are backups in my book.
Mm-hmm.
Those are backup guys that you want to have, even though they're going to be here for multiple years. I don't see them as the future. And that's why I'm actually I'm super scared about this interior, because Hicks is the only guy that I'm like, yeah, you need him out there, because everyone else to me is not performing to my expectations. So like,
Brad,
you gave me a little what? So who did you have?
I do agree with you. I was debating, like, yeah, is Edwards and Blackson like kind of the future? Like, yeah, you can see him as like a backup, but like with how they've played, I don't know. Yeah, I don't think I would want them to have them as our backups. You know, like we're talking about Travis Gibson, like he'd be an awesome backup to still have.
Yeah.
Guys like that, but I still believe in Bilal Nichols. That's someone I had bolded. Obviously, Akeem Hicks, like you said, that's someone that we just have to keep, just that high energy, that leadership on the defensive line. But yeah, Bilal Nichols, I don't have a problem with. We're gonna have to sign him now. He's gonna be off his rookie deal, but I've liked what I've seen. Like I did not like him coming into the draft. And he's one of those guys that, okay, he's not going to play on the team. But yeah, he's been physical. He's been a lot better in the pass rush, I think, than I thought he would be. And yeah, run defense, he's been good. This year hasn't been his best year, but his ending season last year was insane to me. I thought he was getting to the quarterback a bunch, and man, I think he's going to be essential. He's still young. We still need someone young on this defensive interior if we don't like Tonga.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, Goldman. I don't know, man.
Exactly. That's the hard part, is there's so many I don't know, and it's not like we're throwing in the towel on Tonga, and we're not saying he's awful. It's just he's young and he's easy to root for, and he's got a lot ahead of him. But yeah, with Nichols, I might be like, I'm not a hater on Bilal Nichols, but I think why I'm always so iffy on him is I think he's very solid, but I just would like, it's just, if we're going to re-sign him, I feel like he's going to ask for more. We saw how much Roy Robertson Harris got paid. Imagine giving Bilal Nichols an even better deal than that. That's what the market is for some of these interior guys. And that's just all that scares me. That's the only thing that really scares me about it. If he had a normal, like an average deal, I'd be more than happy with having Nichols back. I think he's a good player. I just get nervous about the whole free agency aspect of things. And right now it's looking like I don't know if he's actually going to get re-signed, since Pace hasn't re-signed him in his final year.
Brad, it's so weird having this like defensive interior as like the topic of like question for me, because I still remember talking about this defense interior in like the beginning of the year, be like, this is the most confident area that we have. You know, it's like Mario Edwards as our backup, Angel Blackson as our backup, like
Goldman's coming back.
And yeah, Bilal Nichols is still there. And then it's like we have even Tonga just like as a little just extra guy to, like, for our future. That's the thing that's hard. It's like we've seen how good those guys have been in the past, especially I think of Mario Edwards, especially. Like, he's an aggressive player, but he just gets his aggression too far, and he just gets way too many penalties, and it turns out just hurting the team more than it actually helps.
Yeah, and he had a great year last year. This year he's not producing, and yeah, I see this defensive interior spot, and yeah, we do need some bodies because of the lack of production, really, and so we'll see with this. That's we're going to take the longest amount of time there, because I think that's the biggest like disappointing piece into this future. Because do we have somebody? Tonga is someone to at least look out for, because he is a rookie, he is young, and Edwards has shown his kind of high versatility when he is playing. But Hopefully Hicks can be one of those stalwarts that can kind of come back and Goldman can kind of get things back together. But let's shift over to these corners. Blake, this might be fairly easy. Who can we build around from this corners group?
So obviously I got one guy for sure, and that's Jalen Johnson. Big doy, of course. Pick
Easy.
him. Anyone with like at least an IQ of like 100 would choose that. And I think IQ goes up to like 2,000 or something, but I don't know. I haven't taken one, but Jalen Johnson, obviously, like he's been that guy at cornerback spot. He's another young guy that I think he's going to grow with Roquan Smith, which is very exciting. Because he too, Jalen Johnson, we didn't know how he was going to be this year, kind of being that cornerback one. He was right next to Kyle Fuller last year, just for like a little bit, and now he's the leader, and he earned the spot. He's doing great. But I actually only have one other guy highlighted. I don't know if that surprises you, but Thomas Graham Jr. I think he's a guy that will be that kind of prototypical safety, corner. And we saw highlights from him in preseason a little bit. Just thinks he needs a little bit more work and be tuned up a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. I like Thomas Graham Jr. I have him underlined. I think he's on the practice squad, so we're not seeing him, and there's maybe he's not getting the playbook too well. We'll see, but it's hard because like we can't see him. It's difficult, and I think that it's something to be said. Hopefully, there's development with Kindle Vildor because we have him on a rookie deal, and he's someone that I underline just because he's there on this team, and hopefully he can grow. And I think what we're seeing is that him and Shelley are just they're looking to be a little bit of backups. Like Shelley all of a sudden has a great game out of nowhere, and you're like, this guy's awesome. And then it seems like he makes not the smartest of plays out there. And then Kindle Vildor gets picked on, and then he makes a big play. Then he gets picked on, then he makes a big play. So he's got that big play ability, but you got to be consistent. You got to be able to cover your guys, and that's half the battle. Just because you make big plays, and it's not necessarily like interceptions, it's swats, it's hits, it's knocking the ball loose. So yeah, I agree. It's like Vildor and Shelley are people to watch just to hope for development, but yeah, you're not building around them.
I agree. Yeah, like Duke Shelley, I personally like the Duke a lot.
Oh, we love
and
when
when he's in, I personally think he's he's been our best cornerback in the nickel spot since Bryce Callahan, I think. I just like how he plays the run a lot. Like he gets a lot of tackles. He's very aggressive for being only 5'9". And yeah, I agree. Like he's not the guy that we want to have. Like he's small and all that stuff. But it'd be cool too if Vildor, because he is only 23. I think if he could somehow get in that nickel spot, I think that would be awesome. Because he is 5'11". He's not the tallest guy to have kind of on the outside. So if he could somehow transition to that nickel spot, that would be really great. And if we just get some other tall corner on that outside, that second corner spot would be awesome.
Yeah, this reminds me back in the day. I don't know if you remember Devontae Bowsby. He was on this Bears team, and he was like our starting corner. And I remember going, yeah, I don't know who he is, but he's our starting corner. And and I think that right now, I think we're in this rut where we have Vildor and Shelley. That Shelley's shown that he's decent, but as soon as you get like a normal starting player out there, I think it's a dramatic upgrade. And that's what we're kind of seeking is we just need, like I always call for this, Prince of Mukamara. We just need average play. We just need that solid player out there just to help Jalen Johnson out a little bit more. And I think Shelley's playing halfway decent, but yeah, just to see a better version of Vildor out there. If only we got rid of Jimmy Graham and kept Kyle Fuller. Even though Kyle Fuller hasn't played the best, I would still rather like to see Fuller out there, but he's not, unfortunately. So, Blake, we talked about it. So on this defense, on these corners, really, Johnson is that guy that you're building around. Thomas Graham is just someone to be monitoring to see if he's someone that can turn into something. But Blake, now we're on to the safeties. And the safeties, there's only one person with a multi-year deal, and that's Bojack. Now, also Eddie Jackson, so Bojack. Eddie Jackson is also another one of those players similar to Danny Trevathan and also a Cody Whitehair, where if you got rid of him next year, it would actually be detrimental towards the salary cap. Now there's magic, but I just want to kind of call that out just because he is someone that is kind of locked into some of his deals. So the future of the safety, I really do have Eddie Jackson. I have Eddie Jackson bolded. You want to see him do something. And I hope when he comes back, he can kind of get back to that center field safety that we want to see. I want to give him another year just to see if he still be that future guy. But I think for now, it's going to be him, Mack, Quinn, Roquan, kind of as that core with Jalen Johnson. To me, that is that core. Whether you like Eddie Jackson or not, I think that's going to be the core that we're stuck with. But I did underline Deon Bush in DHC at safety. I think, your boy.
Oh, yeah.
DHC. So I think that you're going to keep, I think that you got to keep them. They're going to be those 1 year at a time guys that you keep on this team, because when one of our safeties goes down, I don't feel as bad, because I mean, first off, they haven't been playing as great. But when you have Deon Bush and DHC as those backups, DHC as the new Sherrick McManus, as the new coverage guy, I like them as long-term people that you just have on 1 year deals, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's exactly who I had, and I did the exact same thing. Like Eddie Jackson, he's the future guy we have to build around with that core. And yeah, I mean, we look at Deshaun Gibson, not a big fan. Like, he's getting old, getting slow. So yeah, don't keep him. Tease Tabor, Marquis Christian, really fun to watch. Really look awesome when they're playing. But like, I only want to see them, maybe once a year.
Preseason.
Yeah, preseason, like doing cool stuff like that. But besides that, I don't really want to see him on the 53-man roster.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And exactly. And I think overall, what do you think about Eddie Jackson? Do you have confidence that he can be that safety of the future? Do you feel confident that he can be that safety guy?
It's just, honestly, it's just hard right now with like the age. I feel like, it's like Akeem Hicks is not playing like how Akeem Hicks would play. It's kind of how like Eddie Jackson is. I don't know why people give so much hate. He has been playing with all that energy, and I just don't think the ball is coming his way. Like Trevon Diggs, we all know who the guy in the Cowboys, that corner. He's getting all these interceptions. Is he really that good, or is he just having that year where the ball is just kind of in the right place? I personally think the ball is just in the right place. He's at the right time. I kind of think how that's Eddie Jackson is this year. Like, he's trying to get plays, make plays, but he's just not there at the right spot. The only thing that's kind of disappointing is just that tackling. Just have to wrap him up. And maybe he'll just learn that with age, which is weird to say because he is 27, but like maybe he'll just be like, all right, I'm getting older. Maybe I shouldn't just try to strip the ball. Maybe I should just wrap him up. Just wrap him up. That's all you got to do.
Yeah, I love Eddie Jackson. Because I loved how he was playing center field. The thing that I fear is that it's a mentality. To be a ball hawk, I feel you need to have a certain mentality. And this is definitely, this is me playing football back in high school at a churchyard, at a churchyard or schoolyard. So not even like actual varsity or anything like that. I remember there was one game, like a handful of games where I was playing safety because we would play like zone. And there was some where I would just get so many interceptions. And it was like a weird mentality thing where you're just in the zone and you're like, anytime that the ball's in the air, you're just swarming to it. You're zipping towards it and you're going towards it as fast as you can. And that's what it seemed like. Eddie Jackson was just in the zone in 2018. And in his good, it is when in his prime, which is hard to say, but in his prime, when we talk about good Eddie Jackson, I just picture this guy flying to the ball carrier, tackling him, flying to the ball carrier, getting an interception, making a big play. He had that different mentality rather than just, I'm going to go out here and play. And a lot of people point to that money, and I think you can, because to me, this is a mentality thing. This is a, like, it seems like he's out there playing, but he's not out there balling. He's not out there with that different mentality that he had. And I think that's the frustrating part about Eddie Jackson is he also has the money. He's getting paid. He got the highest salary for safeties. Now that has changed, but it is about that mentality for me. And that's where it's hard, because I think a lot of times that can happen. You can get that switch if you get cut, if you get traded. And you obviously want to see him here to have that mentality. Maybe they just need an all new defensive scheme. I don't know, but I want to see him. He should be that safety.
I see. I've like seen spurts of that this year, where he'll shoot the gap in
True.
In the run. Like that's something that's like, okay, that's vintage. Vintage Eddie Jackson like 3 years ago. But yeah, it's more that ball hawking. I feel like that's the part we're missing with him. And
yeah,
I still have that sense he is flying to the ball when someone gets it, or that shooting the gap. But man, yeah, he's not that vintage guy.
Maybe it's Gibson. Maybe
yeah,
they just don't see eye to eye. We'll see. It's a very interesting concept. It's a very interesting just overall with this defense, because he should be that guy. He should be that center fielder. But I want to just kind of wrap this up with the defensive side. So with the offensive side, we were talking about Justin Fields. We were talking about who should be around him. So we talked about Khalil Herbert. Montgomery is going to be here for a couple of years, but it's really about the rookies on this offensive side of the ball. Fields, Herbert, Darnell, Cole Kmet. Not a rookie, but Cole Kmet and Jesse James can be great people to be building around him. We still have our eye on A-Rob to see if they can develop any chemistry, but then switching over to this offensive line, Borum and Jenkins, what are they able to do? How are they able to be building? Because those seem to be your building blocks up front. Now, switching over to this defense, Blake, we've said this a couple times. The guys that, when we think of this defense, the future of this defense, Roquan Smith in the middle, Khalil Mack, Robert Quinn, Trevis Gibson, those outside edge guys to generate this pass rush. We're also then looking at Jalen Johnson and Eddie Jackson inside of that secondary, kind of holding that down. Caleb Johnson as that backup linebacker. And Blake, you had Bilal Nichols as well as another just interior guy. We're hoping that Goldman can do something. There's a little asterisk there, because if you can have Goldman and Nichols and then Hicks on 1-year deals, that isn't a half bad interior. Blake, just to finish this off though, I want to just talk about the special teams, because we've got to talk special teams. Blake, I think it's pretty easy. To me, you have Cairo Santos as the kicker for the future. He's shown that he is the guy. And then Mega Punt, just year after year, bring him back. Totally fine with that. You agree with that?
I agree. The only guy, Patrick Scales, I guess, is the only person I still have a thing with Patrick Scales. Like, he's just too lazy. Like, I
didn't know you know.
I have a thing with him where I think he's a hoot. I think he brings a great chemistry. But Patrick Scales, like, why? Like, you're on a football team, like, hit the gym, like, get faster.
Oh man,
get like
the Patrick Scales slander.
Because I've seen him so many times on the punt return, and he's looks like an old like just like a 40-year-old man trying to run and tackle like this super fast guy, and it's sad. It's like,
oh man,
dude, like, what else are you doing? Like, you're just snapping balls like in your free time. Hit the gym or something.
Oh man, the Patrick Scales slander out here. That's why he's so badly rated on Madden, just because of that. So yeah, but I say keep them. I say keep them all together. You want to keep that connection going on. And I'd rather not have problems with the long snapper. And as long as he's snapping it straight, snapping it correctly, all the better. But Blake, that about does it. We went through the offense. We went through the defense. We even touched base on the special teams. So now what's next? So what we have this week, we're back on the normal grind. We have the Baltimore Ravens, and we will be going against Lamar Jackson. Very interesting matchup. We're going to be going through and having a preview. We'll see if we can get anybody on to kind of talk about the Ravens as well, to kind of get you better prepared. But you want to make sure to subscribe, like. If you're using Apple Podcasts, rate us 5 stars. Every little bit helps. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Twitter at Unbearable Sport. And you can find us anywhere. Just search for Unbearable Sports. And Unbearable Sports Podcast, we're out.